This is Goku-san, the BZ, and welcome back to another movie review. And to kind of skip from the last one being the first movie, but this is the review for Insidious Chapter 3. The third installment in, of course, the now creating, of course, the trilogy of Insidious. In this film, the third installment is not directed by James Wan, but he is rather executive producer / producer and co-writer. And the one who was one of the backup director and stuff for the first two films and co-writer of the first two films is directing the third installment, and he will also be directing the fourth installment. But first thing I would like to say about this movie is, of course, it is a prequel to Insidious and Insidious Chapter 2. And Insidious Chapter 3 takes place, if I remember correctly, about 5 or 6 years prior to the events of the first film. And it's actually really good. I will say it's a very solid, definitely a good prequel compared to, say, the prequel Annabelle, which wasn't very good, but then again, James Wan wasn't even involved at all in that prequel film. Now we have Annabelle 2 coming out. Not sure what to think about that, but James Wan, you can tell though he's involved in this film, definitely from the way it was directed, and, well, style and the filmmaking. You can definitely also tell from the storytelling and stuff in the film that he was very much involved. It is, in general, a really solid, overall good film. I highly recommend you check it out. Now, the first thing to say about this, other than being a prequel, it revolves around this young teenage girl, and basically she lives in this large apartment building, and we see in the beginning, really though, she comes and wants to contact her dead mother through, of course, Alyssa, which is the only character that's been in all three films. And the actress who plays the role, once again, does a great job and really does the standout, I think, performance of the film. Now, I will say, the younger actress that plays really technically the main role of the film isn't bad by no means. She's not that bad of an young actress. She needs to get some more experience, and I think definitely she's got a future, but it really revolves around Elsa, hands down. Alyssa. And definitely I highly say that the creepy entity in this film is a little different, obviously. You can tell it's a demonic entity, but unlike past, of course, creatures and entities from the first and second film, which were obsessed in trying to take over and possess someone's body in order to regain life and to come back to our world. This entity, rather, instead wants to pull people into the darkness where he dwells so he can feed off of their souls and strengthen himself and then enjoy torturing other lost souls. And he's done it to quite a few different people. In particular in that building where, anyways, she sees when she's going to this recite for a play and stuff to try to get into his acting school, theater school, if you will. She sees what she thinks is her mom, but of course, earlier in the film at the beginning, Alyssa tells and warns her not to contact her mother because other spirits of the dead can hear her calls for her mother and will take advantage of that. She should have listened to her, but unfortunately does not. At first she sees a shadow figure waving at her, thinking that's her mom. Then later, she ends up crossing the street and stuff and sees thing waving and stuff down the street, dark, dimly lit street, and ends up getting hit by a car, ends up almost on the verge of death, and ends up in, like, the other side in the hospital and stuff. It ends up, this creature tries to grab her and stuff. And we find out later on in the film that it had taken half of her soul, which is why the creature keeps coming back and doing things to her physically, and keeps trying to kill her, because he wants to reunite her soul 100%. In order to feed off that soul, her soul has to be full. It can't be half of a soul in order to feed off of it. So that's the basis on this creature. Now, we see, of course, later on that Alyssa comes back to help out and try to help this girl and the family out. The father, which isn't sure what to do when he's lost in the situation, and knowing brother, which really doesn't know what to do either. But the point is that of this particular entity is interesting in design compared to past creatures, and I will say it does good adding more mythos and stuff to the farther. Also getting to see inside the apartment building in the shadow world, as I call it. But it is interesting adding more material and mythos to the farther. I do appreciate that. And creating a more interesting, unique world than most horror films. And creating, I think, a solid franchise. Now, hopefully it doesn't go off rails like other franchises, such as Paranormal Activity, such as Saw, and I want to correct myself on my last review. James Wan did not direct Paranormal Activity. He was involved in the writing and stuff, and it was his production company that helped make the film, but he was not actually involved. So I correct myself. Anyways, also we see later on these two ghost hunter guys, which we recognize from the first and second film, which end up becoming basically the assistants of course, Alyssa. And it's really interesting seeing them their earlier days before, of course, they wear the tie and dress shirt and stuff, what they originally looked like, which they tried to model them web series and stuff. I guess you could say off of Ghost Adventures type thing is the way they tried to design it. So it's interesting with that said. And constantly, of course, a certain spirit keeps attacking every time she tries to go and tries to help out and goes to farther. She keeps getting attacked by that creepy individual that we know. Of course, what we assume is an old lady in black and stuff from the first film, but which of course returns in the second film as well. Though we learn some secrets in the second film about that particular individual, but in the end, through definitely motivation and looking within herself and stuff, she is able to overpower and beat that entity, which will get the best of her, obviously, at the end of the very first Insidious movie. And she ends up having a final showdown with the big evil creature, demonic entity, and ends up, for the most part, escaping. And the girl basically tries to keep her there, like, interestingly enough, through her ability to contact with spirits and stuff, manages to get the assistance of the mother, which passed away, of the main character of the girl, and she ends up coming and helping her get back to the regular world. So in the end, her passed away mother ends up helping to save her daughter, which I think kind of helps bring it to what we think is going to be a happy closing to the film. And then at the end, she gets ready, of course, again to go to sleep and stuff. Her dog starts barking. We see like the face of an evil, or not sure definitely if it's evil or not. We can't tell what the face is and who the spirit is of that creature. But at the end, we get one final jump scare in the last moment of the film. And you see like completely dark on the other half of the screen by Alyssa. So you know right then the way that picture and scene is, you know a jump scare is about to happen. And what does the jump scare do? Poof! the Darth Maul demon reappears at the very end of the film. And so we get one last look of what I call the Darth Maul demon. Again, surprise, surprise, he's back! Anyways, I hope you like, for the most part, a little bit of a review discussion over Insidious Chapter 3. Eventually, I probably will do a review for Insidious Chapter 2, only since I did the first one, and now doing the third installment. So you can bet you eventually when Chapter 4 comes out, I will review that film as well. Now, with that said, in the near future, also expect, since right now I'm rewatching a bunch of some of my favorite horror films, you can expect a review in the near future for the first Silent Hill movie, based on, of course, the original game for PS1. So stay tuned for that. I'll see you all next time here in YouTube Land. This is Goku-san DBZ signing out, and I'll see y'all soon enough. Follow me at twitter.com/Goku-san DBZ, as well as on Google+. Same YouTube time, same YouTube channel, and yes, I'm working on another Street Fighter comic book review, so you can stay tuned for that soon enough, and it will be Street Fighter Legends Kami issue number 4. So stay tuned for that. I'll see you soon enough again here in YouTube Land.